First at 9 this Saturday, the 31st of August, 2024. Avoid the storm. President Ranil Wickremesinghe calls on genuine United National Party members to back him in the upcoming presidential election. Hints at an economic crisis worse than that of 2022 if taxes are reduced. The promise bandwagon. SJP's presidential candidate Sajith Premadasa asserts that his party is committed to resolving the issues of the people. NPP's candidate Anurukumara Disanayaka vows to provide relief packages for all citizens until the economy is stabilised. SLPP's presidential candidate Namal Rajapaksa promises to introduce a bearable tax policy along with efforts to develop national assets with investor aid. Meanwhile, Sarvajana Balaya's presidential candidate Dilip Jayavira unveils his strategic plan towards a happy nation. Unanimous rejection. Bar Council of Sri Lanka's Bar Association unanimously calls for the immediate resignation of BASL President Kaushal Navaratne over the JICA fund controversy.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දෙනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
From Derana, this is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to Derana First at 9. I'm Aditya Drisingha joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. Now in your top story this evening, President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that the country will encounter another economic crisis worse than that of 2022 if taxes are reduced as pledged by other presidential candidates. Addressing a gathering today, the head of state invited true United National Party members to back him in the upcoming presidential poll. An election campaign rally under the theme Puluwang Sri Lanka, pledging support to President Ranil Wickremesinghe, was held this afternoon in Bandarawela.
Are you going to consider your party affiliations or are you going to save the country? Vadivel Suresh, Aravind Kumar and Thondaman have decided to lead all the votes of the state community to President Ranil Wickremesinghe. If you don't vote for the gas cylinder, we will have to take to the streets to look for gas cylinders.
This is no time to conduct experiments. This is an opportunity for all of us to show our gratitude to someone who proved himself. If you want to reap the benefits of the Urumaya program, the Aswasama program, the 1,700 rupee minimum wage for the estate community and houses for estate workers, there is no point in voting for someone else. You must definitely vote for Ranil Wickremesinghe, the man who rescued you.
Ranil Wickremesinghe is a leader who speaks the truth. He could say that he will provide fertilizer free of charge. However, he does not say so. Instead, he says that he will strengthen the economy. We need to strengthen the country's economy. To that end, we need the president's service. There is no one else better suited for this job than Ranil Wickremesinghe.
Sajith Premadasa and Anurukumara Disanayaka say they will reduce taxes. How can they provide relief by reducing taxes? Our agreement with the IMF is to meet key benchmarks pertaining to revenue collection each year. What will happen if we reduce taxes? If we do that, we will have breached the agreement with the IMF, the World Bank, the ADB, China and other donor nations. They will stop disbursing their money to us. If they cease the disbursements, our situation will be worse than in 2022. That is the difference. I do not want to lie. I don't want to say that I will provide something for 10 rupees and receive applause. If they claim to reduce the tax burden, our disbursements will cease to flow in. That will push us into a plight worse than that of 2022. The gas cylinder could be as expensive as 8,000 rupees by that time. What does the JVP say? They say that they will create a job bank and raise awareness through it. You need to first create jobs. That job bank will be bankrupt since there are not enough jobs to go around. What does Sajith Premadasa suggest? He only speaks 49 words about the youth as a whole. He makes no reference to employment. Are these our candidates? I assert that I turned the entire economy around in 2 years, just like J.R. Jayawardena. That is the UNP tradition. I urge all members of the UNP to vote for me. Sajith Premadasa still cannot steer the party. He passes on the baton to Harsha De Silva and Kabir Hashim whenever he is requested to speak on the economy. When he runs into an issue with them, he invites Nalaka Godeheva on stage. Is that a party? Can they govern? Can they steer the country ahead? That party is in ruins. That is not our party. If you are a member of the UNP, vote for me.
තමුන් එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂය නම් මට ඇවිල්ලා සහයෝගය දෙන්න කියලා මම ඔබ සියලු දෙනාටම කියනවා.
Horizon Campus 2024 Intake 2. Register now.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
Now, the Samaga Jana Balawege-led alliance's presidential candidate, opposition leader Sajith Premadasa asserts that Sri Lanka's unemployment crisis will be resolved under an SJP government through their comprehensive plan to create job opportunities for the youth of the country, including the unemployed graduates. Premadasa added that he is committed to resolve the issues of the country's 22 million strong populace by uplifting their livelihoods upon his election to the office of president.
Another public rally pledging support to the Samaga Jana Balawege-led Samaga Jana Sandhana's presidential candidate and the opposition leader Sajith Premadasa was held yesterday in Madavachiya.
මේ 21 වෙනිදා පවතින්නේ මේ රටේ ලක්ෂ 220ක් වෙච්ච ජනතාවගේ අනාගතේ තීන්දුව කරන මැතිවරණය. ඒ නිසා මේ මැතිවරණය තුල අපිට අත්හදා බැලීම් කරන්න ඉඩක් නැහැ. මේ රටේ හොරාන කාපු නායකයෙක් ඉන්නවා නම් වැඩ කරලා පෙන්නපු නායකයෙක් ඉන්නවා නම් ජනතාවගේ ජන දුක දන්න නායකයෙක් ඉන්නවා නම් ඒ සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මැතිතුමා විතරයි.
රාජ්‍ය සේවයේ නිරත වී සිටින සියලුම දෙනාට කියන්න කැමතියි. ලබන ජනවාරි ඉඳලා
From January onwards, we will raise the salaries of state employees by 24%. The living expenses allowance would be increased to 25,000 rupees. The minimum salary granted to the state workers would be 57,500 rupees. Additionally, the existing tax rates between the ranges of 6% to 36% will be brought down to a range between 1% to 24%. A 50 kilogram of fertilizer would be sold at 5,000 rupees for the farmers. Along with that, the agriculture loans would be completely written off. We will follow a comprehensive plan to provide employment opportunities to the youth of this country, including the unemployed graduates. We will construct 7 factories in the Madavachiya, Horopatana, Anuradhapura East, Anuradhapura West, Kalawava, Mihintale and Kakirawa electorates in the Anuradhapura district. Do not have any doubt in us. We are committed to end the sufferings of the 22 million people of this country and to encourage and strengthen them. I will encourage the people by considering the sufferings of the public as an issue of mine. I am committed to resolving the issues of the people and will definitely strengthen the livelihoods of the people.
ඔබට ශක්තියක් වෙනවා. ඔබට උත්තර සපයනවා. ඔබව ජීවත් කරවනවා, ජීවත් කරවනවා, ජීවත් කරනවාමයි කියන එක.
Now, the presidential candidate of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, Namal Rajapaksa, asserts that the authorities must not exclusively look at asset disposals and the imposition of taxes to build up state coffers. Addressing a gathering today, Rajapaksa assured that under his tenure, such attitudes would be completely eradicated, and instead the SLPP's candidate for the presidency promises to introduce a bearable tax policy along with efforts to develop national assets with international investor aid. The SLPP's Homagama constituency meeting, pledging support to the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna's presidential candidate Namal Rajapaksa, was held this morning.
During one of his rallies in the north, Sajith Premadasa assured the implementation of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution in the country. Similarly, NPP's Anurukumara Disanayake and President Ranil Wickremesinghe pledged the same. Therefore, Namal Rajapaksa is the only candidate who will ensure that the territorial integrity of the country is not infringed.
Through the implementation of our plan, we will enforce policies to protect local businesses in the country. We will implement policies to safeguard entrepreneurs. The current tax policy has thrust businesses into discomfort. However, under our governance, we will implement a tax policy that the people and the businesses can bear. Our policy as such will not result in the reduction of state revenue. Instead of selling off state assets, we will ensure that we develop them. If investors are required, we will take steps to get in touch with such investors. We must not exclusively consider the cheap disposal of state assets and arbitrary taxes to be the only modes of generating state revenue. To find out about the Sarvajana Balaya Alliance's strategic plan for Happy Nation, join us on the other side of the short commercial break. Stay with us.
Star dishwasher Dali Hell Indul Pahasuwen Sede. Star dishwasher Magic Tub එක.
Crunchy goodness for hunger on the go.
චන්දරුසුනේ කාගෙන් බලා අපේ සිංහ TV සඳහා සුපිරි ඩීල්.
Welcome. Leader and presidential candidate of the National People's Power, Anjukumara Dissanayake, says that an NPP-led government will provide a relief package to Sri Lankan citizens until it is able to stabilize the country's economy. The NPP leader also assured that his party has a plan to systemically develop the country's economy.
A public rally of the National People's Power pledging support to the party's leader and presidential candidate Anjukumara Dissanayake was held yesterday in Kottawa.
දැන් දකුණත් කඳවුර වියරු වැටිලා ජාතික ජන බලවේගයටත් එහි නායකත්වයටත් මඩ පිට මඩ ගහන්න පටන් අරන් අඩුම තරමින් ගහන මඩ පැය 24ක් තියාගන්න පුළුවන් මඩක් කියන්නේ. ඒක නිසා අපි මේ කඳවුරට අනතුරු වඟවනවා. පරාජය ඉවසා දරා ගන්න බැරුව වියරු වැඩ කරන්න එන්න එපා.
එහෙනම් ජාතික ජන බලවේගය ආණ්ඩුව පළමු මොකද කරන්න ඕන?
What is the first thing that NPP-led government must do? We have a long-term economic development plan. However, with that, there's also a plan to reduce the pressure of the people. Within a year and a half, we will reduce the electricity bill by more than 2/3. We will also reduce the fuel prices. The people incur a massive cost for transportation needs. People can buy any vehicle they want. However, the NPP will mainly focus on strengthening the public transportation service. We will remove the VAT on food in our budget proposal. Our government will completely remove the VAT on school stationery. We will also remove the VAT on health equipments. It is the pay tax. When one earns 100,000 rupees of salary, it will be deducted. It will be imposed if an individual earns 200,000 rupees of salary, and we will change that. At the beginning, we will provide relief package. However, the country go forward over funds or reliefs. Although we have to provide them until the country is stabilized. We must provide relief until the country stabilizes and until the people can reap the benefits of the economic development. We have a plan to systematically develop the country's economy.
Presidential candidate of the Sarvajana Balaya Alliance, Dilip Jayavira, unveiled his alliance's highly anticipated strategic plan for the country, titled the National Strategic Plan Towards a Happy Nation. The strategic plan of the Sarvajana Balaya proposes 8 corrections, highlighting them as national priorities.
The National Strategic Plan Towards a Happy Nation of the Sarvajana Balaya was launched in Sri Jayawardhanapura Kotte under the patronage of its alliance's presidential candidate Dilip Jayavira.
ජාතික වාමාංශික පෙරමුණේ නියෝජ්‍ය ලේකම් DVD තිලකසිරි මහතාට යුතුයකම ජාතික සංවිධානයේ සභාපති පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රී ගෙවිඳු කුමාරතුංග මහත්මයාට ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ කොමියුනිස්ට් පක්ෂයේ ප්‍රධාන ලේකම් වෛද්‍ය ජී වීරසිංහ මහතා පිවිතුරු හෙළවුරුමේ නායක පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රී උදය ගම්මන්පිල මහතා ජාතික නිදහස් පෙරමුණේ නායක පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රී විමල් වීරවංශ මහතා මෞබිම ජනතා පක්ෂයේ නායක සර්වජන ජනාධිපති අපේක්ෂක දිලිත් ජයවීර මහතා මේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ ප්‍රථම ජාතික උපාය මාර්ග සැලැස්ම සර්වජන බලයෙන් ජනගත කරන වගයි
The strategic plan of the Sarvajana Balaya proposes 8 corrections which they highlight as national priorities. They include punishing fraudsters and the corrupt, protecting war veterans, rendering justice to the victims of the Easter Sunday attack, eliminating economic dependence, protecting farmers, industrialists and the professionals in the construction sector, ensuring independence in the government service, putting a stop to caste-based discrimination and defeating conspiracies aimed at dismantling society. The creation of a happy nation with an entrepreneurial state focuses on 8 pillars. They are the smart implementation of government administration and management, focus on education, environment and technology under the programs of Vishishtayo, Haritha Digantaya and Biso Kotuing Obbata respectively. Further, motivating the youth and contributing to the growth of the nation, solving problems in the health sector through the program Suapat Minisun, strengthening social welfare via the Hite Haya program, and creating an industrial revolution via the Pannareya program are expected under the Sarvajana Balaya strategic plan. The plan aims to eliminate salary discrepancies among professionals in the education sector and to bring them on par with Sri Lanka's highest paid professionals. By 31st of December 2025, the plan aims to create an economic environment in the country where the monthly income of a household can be increased to a minimum of 100,000 rupees. Through the plan, the Sarvajana Balaya aims to implement a policy on medicine similar to the policy introduced by Dr. Senaka Bibile to determine the medical needs of the country based on statistical analysis and to address any shortcomings. The Sarvajana Balaya also proposes the implementation of a program aiming to uplift the living standards, which will include the introduction of a digital identity to each and every citizen at birth. The identity created as such will facilitate the operations of the state service. According to the strategic plan, the issuance of the relevant unique identification numbers are expected to commence on the 1st of October this year and will be completed within 6 months. With the support of the private sector, the Sarvajana Balaya aims to bring down unemployment among the youth to 3% within 5 years and completely eliminate unemployment within 10 years. In a bid to protect farmers and industrialists, the strategic plan proposes the introduction of a special import tax policy for selected goods. It also includes the introduction of government-mediated market price regulation to increase the income levels of farmers. By introducing a new act that focuses on writing off debt and providing relief under a practical framework, the strategic plan proposes relief to small and medium-scale enterprises which had to halt their business operations due to unbearable levels of debt. The alliance also aims to provide relief to those who lost their employment as a result of business closures. Sarvajana Balaya aims to establish a national entrepreneurship fund, and with the introduction of the Startup Sri Lanka Digital Entrepreneurship Fund, it aims to work in collaboration with the global private sector. The program Ranvata is expected to be launched to ensure national security. The alliance aims to withdraw the Truth and Reconciliation Commission bill, which they claim will persecute war veterans. The strategic plan includes the introduction of a local mechanism to trace the missing persons and resume the halted provision of relief and privileges to war veterans who paid the supreme sacrifice. Through the launch of a digital tax collection platform, the plan aims to track income tax on a real-time basis and prepare tax reports automatically. According to the forecast of the Sarvajana Balaya, this will lead to the increment of the annual state tax revenue by about 30% and expects the collection of an additional revenue amounting to 1 trillion rupees within the first year of its implementation. While aiming to expand the tax net and introduce technicalities such as digital identification, Sarvajana Balaya is of the view that the direct tax revenue collection has to be 40% of the total tax collection, while the indirect tax revenue has to be 60%. In a bid to reduce the cost of living, the strategic plan proposes the removal of VAT imposed on a selected number of essential consumer goods. The Sarvajana Balaya strategic plan focuses on the efficient use of state-owned resources instead of selling them, restructuring them appropriately, and halting the unnecessary merging, classification and closure of state-owned enterprises. By revising the pensions of those who retired before 2020 and removing discrepancies, the plan proposes the commencement of their pay from January 2025 and complete the payment of arrears within 3 years. By dividing ministerial portfolios based on a scientific method, the Sarvajana strategic plan aims to limit the cabinet ministerial positions to a maximum of 25 and deputy ministerial positions to a maximum of 35. The plan also aims to create a just society by ensuring the independence and credibility of the judiciary. The plan proposes the introduction of a new electoral system through which 70% of the parliamentarians from each district will be elected at the divisional level, while 30% will be elected by the proportional representation system. By managing debt and raising income, Sarvajana Balaya aims to transform the nation into a nation that lends to other countries rather than borrowing from them.
අපේ තාරුණ්‍ය සද්භාවයෙන් පාරට බැස්ස තාරුණ්‍ය විශ්වාස කරා
The youth who took to the streets with pure intentions called for a change in the corrupt political system. They called for a system change to wipe out the corrupt political system completely. The youth also called for fiscal discipline. That change should manifest from this election campaign onwards. We prepared a strategic plan in order to take maximum use of this opportunity. This plan does not consist our wishes. We made this following a thorough study of the developed world. We will increase the minimum income of a family to 100,000 rupees. Those timelines are also mentioned in this plan. We have also made plans on how to manifest that increase. We promise to exempt the first vehicle bought by the young from taxes. We have to think differently. Please be confident in our strategic plan to make that change a reality. Ranil Wickramasinghe, Sajith Premadasa and Anurukumara Disanayaka have presented their programs as well. Let's sit together with our programs and discuss them with 10 minutes allocated for each sector. However, they should explain on how they are going to achieve those objectives and how they are funded. This has to be discussed. If not, we will be rendering a great disservice to the people. If we continue to act in the traditional way, we will fall into the same pit once more. It is clear what will happen to us if we do not change. We saw what happened to Bangladesh recently. We should not let our country reach the same plight. You should not express hatred through a vote in such a way that it affects the children and yourself. If you do that, Sri Lanka will be pushed into great misfortune. I wish victory for the star symbol and all Sri Lankans.
ශ්‍රී ලාංකිකෙන්ට ජයග්‍රහණය ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරමින් තරුව ලකුණ දිනේවායි ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරමින් මම නිහත වෙනවා. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
Now, the Bar Council of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka unanimously approved a proposal calling for the resignation of BASL President's Council Kaushalya Navaratna. On the 18th of May, the BASL Council appointed a 5-member committee of inquiry to look into the allegations pertaining to the BASL project funded by JICA relating to the promotion of a transparent and competitive business climate in Sri Lanka. The committee claimed that Navaratna had failed to act with transparency in handling the contract between the BASL and JICA, a violation of trust placed in him as president. Consequently, the Bar Council directed Navaratna to not exercise his powers as president until his resignation. That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.